Lucas, Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Happy New Year to everybody. My goodness, 2023 is here, and wishing you all the greatest health and prosperity and everything that you're wishing for this new year. Love and happiness, and may you all eat like Lucas Panzica this year, who eats like a champ everywhere he goes. Speaking of that, we are at, if you're going to eat anywhere, anytime in 2023 or ever, you need to be at the Scoreboard Bar and Grill. I hadn't been out here in forever. I know 3HL, those guys get to hang out here. Ron Slay's already out here eating chicken tenders somewhere because he never misses the chance to hit up the scoreboard, and you shouldn't either. All day shows station going to be here till 6 o'clock. You can come by. You can say, hey. So when you come to the scoreboard, there's, I don't know, they've basically built a second scoreboard onto the scoreboard. And just imagine if you and your buddy said, we're going to build a perfect place to watch sports on TV. That's what they did. Because you can open up all the windows when it's hot outside and when it's cool outside. They can heat it all in here. It is the coolest place. There's a stage in here, and that's where we're hanging out. So you can come over here and say hello. We've already eaten. I had a cheeseburger that's the best cheeseburger I've had. Well, I don't even know the last time I had a cheeseburger that good. They got the coldest beer in Nashville. They've got TVs everywhere. There's bowl games on everywhere. Today's one of those 5-star kind of days if you're a sports fan, because you've got college football all day. You've got NFL football tonight. I mean, you really can't lose. So you're in fantastic shape at the scoreboard. You can come by here. You can hang out. You can try Oil Fire Whiskey. How about that? You can register to win great prizes. We got our zone table set up here. They're also giving away a tailgate package to the big Pro Football Championship Bowl game. You know the one that I'm talking about. If you win, you're going to have your own private viewing party for 20 of your closest family and friends, and that is a big wow, because if the scoreboard is involved, everybody's going to ask you, who made this delicious food? And, you know, don't lie and say you did it. You can tell them the truth and say that the scoreboard did. The big news today, Josh Dobbs named the starter for the Tennessee Titans. Mike Vrabel had spoken a couple of days ago, had been non-committal, but today he was asked about it. Basically, he just said, yeah, Dobbs is the starter. So another week for the former UT quarterback to prepare to take on the Jags. And this is one of those rare, Lucas was asking this earlier, has this ever happened in the AFC South? Have two teams played on the final week and the winner gets to go to the playoffs and has the South? And I guess the Jags still have a couple of backdoor ways to make the playoffs, but essentially this is a win the game, win the South scenario. So Josh Dobbs will get the starter. Will get the start in the game. Certainly want to hear from you on this. If you want to discuss your thoughts, 615-737-1045. That'll get you in on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. Mike Wilson's going to join us, who covers the Tennessee Vols, in about 20 minutes. And I know he hasn't covered them forever, but he may have been there for the end of the Dobbs era. We can ask him about that. We can also ask him about the Orange Bowl, Blake, because the Vols just went and in a battle of all orange in the Orange Bowl, one team certainly out-physicaled and beat up the other.
No doubt about it. Happy New Year's to everybody. And this is just like Scoreboard. It reminds me when I go over your house for dinner, your patio, man, it's just as big as your
It's
spot
the exact same.
I
modeled it after this.
But, Tennessee did exactly what I thought they would do. I was really surprised when Lucas and Will were picking Clemson. They got caught up in the Clemson hype of 4 years ago and not this year. The ACC was down. Even though you win the ACC, the Tennessee was maybe, you could say, was one of the best teams in the SEC. They just had a stinker of a game against South Carolina. They were the better team, even with backups who had played a lot during the season. So that's why I was so confident that Tennessee would win the game, because they were going to beat them in the trenches. And Clemson's offensive line had nothing. Tennessee's defense looked like they were world beaters, right? Yeah, see that? So it shows you just the style of play in the SEC versus the ACC, at least as of today, is a little bit different. And they really play really well. Milton did what I thought he would do. I thought he would calm down and, throw some completions deep. Naturally, that's what everybody's watching. So I think something to build on as far as he's concerned. And then everybody else will be in place for next season. I probably only complaint I have is they still don't rotate the receivers, and he just doesn't. That's just not his style of what he likes to do. But to me, with the modern era, the TP, to me, why can't you play a couple guys, at least a couple series a game, but even get a taste, especially in a bowl game, where you want to see what they have, and then you can coach them up and improve on them and have something to build on with those guys. So other than that, the secondary still looks like it needs a lot of help. Other than that, they look really, really good. So I was not surprised at all, and they did exactly what I thought they were doing. And I think Clemson is on to something with Klubnik. I think he's going to be a really good player. But, he's still young, has to go through his lumps and everything else, as well as their running back. Both of their running backs are actually there for Clemson. But, I'm excited about what the next year brings and what they can do. It'll be interesting, though, because how much he can carry over from what he's built. I think they have to do a little bit better job in recruiting. He's won with, let's just call it what it is, with Pruitt's players, to me, more so than his players. And Hooker was Pruitt's players, so people forget about that. They did decide eventually to go to Hooker, but that's not what the first decision was.
No, it wasn't.
The first decision was Milton, which
was.
was their player. So at least they wanted to win more than be right. And so I hope that will continue, and then they start getting some better recruits with the record that they put up this year, and kind of start building a dynasty of where Tennessee should be and on the national map every single year, competing for SEC championships and national titles.
As the game wore on, you could see, literally, I just was sitting on the couch. I was at my mom's house, went home to Arkansas, got to visit with some family and friends, ring in the new year. And there were so many Clemson guys who were literally, like, limping around. They beat them up.
Yeah.
The quarterback and the running back, the guys were just beat up. They pounded them for 4 quarters.
Oh, yeah, they beat them in the trenches. And that's the difference between the SEC and the ACC and other conferences besides the Big Ten. I think the size and the pounding really takes its toll. Though Clemson looks like, they're still, a good college team.
Yep.
Where the SEC and Tennessee and crew look like grown men out there. So that's a big difference. As time goes on, you get to see the big difference there. But it was exciting to watch, really. And, hey, let's just call a spade. Them missing 3 field goals, going for the fake field goal at the beginning of the game. You do things like that in a bowl game. So in your mind, it matters, but it doesn't matter. So I thought, that kind of got the momentum and swing and everything else. And even when they got within 7 there, Milton drove right down. They responded to a big-time touchdown to Keaton. So I thought that was also show some mental toughness and no panic. And then we're going to continue to run our offense. And a lot of it is built on their scheme and system, not necessarily the players. Now, the players have to run the scheme and system, but I think their scheme and system, I don't think the SEC really has an answer for them yet unless you say, I got that guy. And that guy, and only so many teams can do that in the SEC, which was South Carolina with their secondary and Georgia. And that naturally Alabama, who they still beat in a barn burner shootout. I think they get some more guys in the trenches, get the secondary right, get them up to speed. I think Tennessee will still be competing right where they're at today and maybe get fortunate enough to win the ones that they're supposed to win, which is, the South Carolina game.
First 11-win season since 2001 in a year where they beat Alabama and Clemson. Heupel inherited a team that went 3-7 in 2020, the COVID year, and has won 18 games in 2 years. As the head coach at Tennessee. You mentioned Clemson and them getting into UT territory. In 9 of their first 10 possessions, they got into Tennessee's territory.
But they stopped them from getting touchdowns and held them to field goals, which they missed. Yeah. So another great and by the way, defensive effort by Tennessee was outstanding. I thought in this game. And Aaron Beasley, and, there's a lot of really good players, Young. So they had some guys, but, man, the defense, played solid. They played well. Bend but don't break, but they also got after the quarterback.
Aaron Beasley.
All day.
Aaron Beasley had 12 tackles, 4 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks.
2 sacks, yeah.
He was.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah, I thought there was some doubt in my mind, but I know it always goes to the offensive guys who should get MVP.
Yep.
I knew they were going to give it to Milton. I thought maybe Squirrel, but especially the way he started the game. But as time went on, they were starting to go in other places. So, yeah, the future looks bright there on the offensive side. Got to get some linemen, offensive linemen replaced, but the skill guys I think are pretty much set. Trying to build up, some of the guys behind them as well.
college football playoff game. Both of those games were fun. That never happens.
Oh,
they were both fun.
Now, the Michigan game was a stunner for me. I was watching that game, and, I have a lot of respect. I played TCU, but to think that they were going to beat Michigan in the way it was a shootout, I did not expect that at all. I knew they could match up skill-wise, but in the trenches, they showed a physicality that was really unique and surprising. And I think Mentor on defense calling all those blitz there in desperation, I thought was a little too soon to go that way, and they just kept getting big plays because once you hit a crease, when you're blitzing and everything, there's some big plays. But, man, I was happy for Coach Mack and the Frogs. Yeah, this frog, right? So,
Frog,
yeah,
that's all he says.
just to think, TCU, who was, I think, unranked when the season started. So now to be in the national championship, that's what college football is all about, man. So, and then, hey, Georgia, who's supposed to get there, who took, heroic effort, really, 2 times down by 14, right? Something like that. So I was stunned. I just knew Georgia was going to win and make it back. I'm a big, Stetson Bennett guy, and I like the whole story and everything else, and him beating out a 5-star and still keep producing. And, by the way, the coach is sticking by him and saying, no, he's the guy. He's the better guy, at least at the college level in our system. So I want to see him to do it again. I really do. But, man, it's the underdog TCU versus – and I usually cheer for the underdog. I'm usually the TCU, but I don't know about this one here, man. Who's favorite already? I'm going Georgia. I got to believe Georgia's favored by at least a touchdown. But, man, I love to see Georgia, back-to-back, and then Stetson Bennett right off into the sunset, because I would have rode off to the sunset last year, and I would have never come back.
I think that dude was like, hey, man, I can stay here, make NIL money, and be a superstar for one more year. Yeah, I think I'll do that.
And, by the way, both starting quarterbacks, probably TCU and Georgia, probably are not starting NFL quarterbacks. Probably are backup guy type caliber players.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating, which just shows you how much different college and the pro game is. And they've had exceptional years, by the way.
FanDuel, that guy for TCU had been the starter and wasn't the starter at the beginning of the end to win his job back get his job back. 13.5, Georgia favored.
13. Ooh, that's
13.5. That is a big number.
I'll leave that up to Joe Hunk to figure out who's going to win the game. 13.5, Georgia? Ooh, that's a lot. Oh, man, I think it's going to be another close one.
Was that targeting at the end of that game?
I would say probably so.
Well, Hunk is laughing. Was that targeting at the end? Hunk is out here. Was that targeting?
You're talking to a defensive guy who wants to knock people's head off. But that one there, yeah.
I mean, imagine if they call that. Lucas says targeting. Ron Slay's out here targeting at the end of the Michigan TCU game.
Yeah. He's trying to remember.
Yeah, oh, yeah. Was that targeting on Harrison?
Yeah.
Kirby is still mad from Ohio.
Exactly. Yeah.
It just proves again, nobody knows what it is. They can't call it consistently.
That's where the human error comes into play. I mean, even if you replayed it, could they call that play? See, man, that's tough sled there, man.
Well, the games were fun.
They really were. They were exciting.
Fun games.
Was it fun just because it was a shootout? So because it was a lot of scoring? Because some fun people would say, "Oh, it's fun. Score was 10-7." That's like Joe Hunk. He likes 10-7 type scores.
I think it's just fun if the games are close because somebody always just gets waylaid in that game. Sometimes both. So I just wanted the games to be close.
I did.
But I don't mind if it's 10-7.
And typically it's a blowout.
Yes.
Now here's what I need some help with. I know this year's not the same thing, but like Michigan, like taking off really, I don't know how many days it was. Was it a month? Not taking off, but not playing in a game.
Yeah.
I really think that affects some of these college players and how they prepare for the game. So could you shorten out at least the Final Four, have them play within, let's say, 2 weeks? That way you still get a semblance of what they were during the regular season.
Yeah.
Because when I watched them versus Ohio State, Michigan, they look nothing like that team.
Yep.
And we got to remember now, we're dealing with 18 to 22. Now, some of them may be like 24 now these days with all the COVID and everything. But, I just don't know if you think you're going to perform at that same level you were and just pick up, especially offensively. where everything is about timing and everything. Defensively, you can run around and it's running around. You may blow some assignments here or there, but I think that goes into play because sometimes we start seeing blowouts and we're like, dang, that team, I can't believe that. And not necessarily this year, but I really think they should have a shorter window there. A month? I mean, how long was it? Somewhere like that, 3.5 weeks or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I like to see it a little sooner than later. And maybe you take out, well, I don't know if they'll ever take out the championship games in the regular season of the conferences. Maybe that could speed it up a little bit. If they're already ranked and nobody's east, west, north, south, you just rank the 1 through whatever in each conference and, leave it at that. But they got to get that money, though, of course.
They like that cheddar from those conversations.
They got that Mickey cheddar.
It's free money, man. You can come out here and eat good for not a whole lot of money. Scoreboard Bar and Grill, that's where we are all day, the zone, here until 6 o'clock. We're in the big, overflow area. Just imagine, again, build your, dream sports bar where you and your buddies hang out. They basically did that. So why don't you and your buddies come and hang out here? Last big day of college football, come and spend it with us. We got the whole crew out here, and we would love for you to join us. Mike Wilson's going to join us. Now, he won't be here, so he can't have a cheeseburger like I just did, but he's got the latest on the Tennessee Vols after the big win in the Orange Bowl. That's coming up next. Mike Wilson on Blaine and Mickey. All day, the Zone is here until 6 o'clock. You can come by and have hot food and cold beer and watch bowl games. I mean, a lot of y'all are off work. Why wouldn't you come down here and just hang out at the Scoreboard with us or 3HL? They'll be here after. Ron Slay's already here. You can probably get him to post you up and show you some of his moves, bring him a headband. He
said he's going to do that drop step.
It's too hot.
Dunk.
Okay, yeah. Lucas is over there sweating, saying it's perfect. Ron is saying his chicken is too hot.
He said Ron is soft. Yeah.
Come and witness this firsthand if you dare. We would love to have you, and you can even register for all kinds of things, including well, I don't think we can say the name of the Pro Football Championship because there's no rights that have been exchanged, but just think of the big bowl game that ends the NFL season. Every year they're doing a tailgate package. If you win, you can have a private viewing party for 20 of your closest friends and family, courtesy of Scoreboard. We got Mike Wilson handy. Action Jackson, is he on with us?
He is. Go ahead.
He is here. Mike Wilson joins us now. Mike, Happy New Year to you, sir.
Happy New Year to you guys as well. I love starting off the year with you guys of all people.
Well, we appreciate that, yeah.
Absolutely. Joe Milton has had a nice start to his new year. MVP. It was pretty cool just knowing his history at UT, and he gets there and he's the starter, then he's not the starter, and everybody thinks he's going to leave, and he doesn't leave. A heck of a story for him to play the way he did in that game and to be rewarded for it. It was just – that was one of those Disney-type endings that actually happened for a guy, and it's not his ending at all, but ending to the season anyway.
Yeah, and obviously that was the storyline going into this game was what is Joe Milton going to say in terms of a statement toward next year's quarterback battle? That spot is his. First crack at it belonged to him, and I thought he put his best foot forward thus far. He was better than he looked in any of his previous outings, especially in extended action. And I thought really there were so many points where he showed the things he can do that make him the prospect that everyone's always loved, but now you're seeing it kind of become closer to a real product opposed to just some skill set stuff. And yeah, I thought that was great for Joe, great for Tennessee, and that certainly is exactly what the Vols wanted to see out of him.
So if you're Mike Wilson on the Vols coaching staff, have you seen enough from Mill to see that much from him?
I mean, I think you've definitely seen enough to say he's the clear front runner.
Yeah.
Taven Jackson played such limited snaps this year before he got hurt. And, he wasn't really going to be in the mix this year anyway, but you saw so little from him while he took a red shirt this year. Obviously, Nico comes in, one of the top prospects in the country, a five-star quarterback. So there's always that element to, well, what's he going to be capable of? But the best-case scenario is Joe Milton's your guy.
Yeah.
It allows Nico to get a year in the offense, learn it, get some playing time throughout the season, and be the dude the following year. I mean, that's kind of that perfect progression at quarterback for Tennessee, I think. But yeah, I don't know if it's Joe Milton is the guy. There's no question about that. It will never be second-guessed until next season. But I think it's clear that he is easily the front runner and should be viewed that way throughout the whole offseason.
Yeah, his performance certainly did that. Mike Wilson, his performance lands him on with us periodically, including today as we start out 2023, talking to at by Mike Wilson on Twitter, Knoxville News Sentinel.
Well, Mike, outside of Joe Milton, actually, which is the headline, and as well as the MVP, what was the, I guess, biggest takeaway outside of that?
I thought Danico Slaughter in the secondary played phenomenal football. And, he played a really good game at corner against Kentucky. Wasn't so great at that spot later in the season, but he looks like a guy now that you can say maybe he's one of your starting corners next year. And if Warren Burrell comes back from his surgery healthy that he had early this season, you might now have some answers at cornerback, which was such a weak spot for this team this season. That was big to me, just the way that Danico played. I thought it was good for guys like Byron Young and Darnell Wright to really improve and cement their NFL draft status as well. But yeah, when you're talking about what Tennessee sees for next season, I thought Danico Slaughter is the headliner in that capacity without a doubt. Squirrel White in that conversation too had a big time game as well. Brew McCoy did his thing. So yeah, there were definitely some other good signs as well out there.
What do you think this bowl game win means to not just the Vols, but the fans, the coaches, the players, just kind of encompassing all of those things? Because I thought they were going to win the game, and a lot of people who even went to Tennessee, at least Lucas and Will, didn't think they were going to win. I thought it was a no-brainer. I thought they were going to win against Clemson because I didn't think the ACC was as strong as the SEC. and Tennessee was one of the stronger teams in the SEC this season. So what does this bowl game mean to Ball Nation?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a few different layers to that. Just off the surface, you're talking about finishing the season on a strong note. If Tennessee had lost that game, they would have had 3 losses in their final 5 between Georgia, South Carolina, and then the bowl game. You want to finish on a high note, and Tennessee was able to do that. And I think that's a big deal. I think the difference from a 10-win to an 11-win season also is pretty substantial, getting to a bowl game and leaving with a win like that against a marquee program. But I think there's fallout beyond fan base and everything else too, where you talk about this is a nice recruiting win. This is a win now. I mean, Tennessee's going to go up against Clemson for a lot of guys. I mean, just regionally, they're close. They're going to have a similar recruiting footprint, and Tennessee now has a nice little leg up to say, hey, we're trending in the right direction, and they might not be. So come play for us. And I think that's a really nice thing for Tennessee's coaches to be able to hang their hats on moving forward.
Well, with Mike Wilson, Knoxville News Sentinel, I guess one more for me. I was a little surprised, I guess, at the level of play consistently throughout the game, and that was from the defensive side of the ball. Talk a little bit about what you saw besides Slaughter. Naturally, Aaron Beasley looked really well, too.
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee abused Clemson up front, and that's not the Clemson offense, skill position-wise and offensive line-wise, that we've been used to seeing in the past few years.
Right.
And Tennessee just teed off on them. I mean, the way that the front 7 played, the way that Tim Banks called a really aggressive game was really successful. And that's kind of that defense that when Tennessee was good, they were able to do those things because the back end was always weak this season. And so having a front 7 that was able to get pressure was kind of Tennessee's counter to that. And that's what they did. I mean, they made Cade Klubnik's life look absolutely miserable throughout that game. So, that's where the success was for sure. And that was a positive for Tennessee to leave the season on a high note defensively, just because, again, there were a couple of those games late in the season, especially South Carolina. You said, golly, that defense is struggling. But, yeah, they finished really nicely.
We're going with Mike Wilson, Knoxville News Sentinel.
Mike, Aaron Beasley, Blaine and I were talking about the game. That dude, he could have been MVP. He had a game for the ages. He had, 12 tackles and 4 tackles for loss and 2 sacks. And, I guess this is a guy who you get another year of at a position where we've all kind of had our eye on that Vols linebacker room. But, man, what a fantastic job by Beasley in that game.
Yeah, I thought he was the MVP, and that's not to take anything away from Joe Milton, but I thought Aaron Beasley set the tone for the game.
Yeah.
With the things that he did early defensively, especially. I think he had a sack on the first drive right before that fake field goal attempt, if I'm not mistaken. Might be mistaken. So late night. Aaron Beasley played phenomenally in that game, and you're right, because that is a position that you wonder what it's going to look like. I mean, Jeremy Banks was arguably Tennessee's best defensive player at points this season. He's gone. I thought Elijah Herring showed well, and he's a guy that's going to be in that mix moving forward. He's a freshman this year. Yeah, I think that linebacker unit, the edge unit, Tennessee's got some exciting players there. Joshua Josephs, James Pierce as those edge guys. That freshman class that's rising into the sophomore unit now, I think Tennessee knows it has some talent there that's going to really contribute, make a difference on that defense.
Yeah, it's interesting because I started thinking, how many games did Pruitt win in 3 years? He won 16 games in 3 years. Heupel has won 18 in 2 years, and he's done it all when how many guys jumped in the portal, around the time that he got the job. So he inherited a depleted roster. He inherited a complete mess and an NCAA investigation. To me, that makes what he's done even more impressive. It's impressive enough that, they did something that hadn't been done in 20 years record-wise, but the fact that he did it with the backdrop of everything that was going on, that makes it even more remarkable. Again, the job that Heupel has done.
It is impressive, and, I've probably said it with you guys before, but I thought the one thing that was interesting when Heupel was hired with all the roster attrition was this offense levels the playing field.
Yeah.
It's such a potent offense that even if there's a talent gap, it can overcome some of that, and that's why you saw some of those bowl wins at UCF, and that's been proven now. But Heupel also, they developed talent, and I think all of this, the backdrop to all of it, and the impressive part of all of it is it just became a positive culture in the Tennessee locker room. It didn't seem like Heupel and his staff were ever going to allow the departures and the NCAA stuff or anything to affect the culture they wanted in this program, and you've seen guys buy into that. You've seen the way that players have talked and approached things change. Players that were recruited by Pruitt and were part of that staff and that group really bought into that. And so you saw there was no excuses for this mentality, but also a positive nature behind that. And everyone seems to be rolling in the same direction. And I think what you're seeing at Tennessee is the exact product of when everyone's on the same page and feels good about being on that same page.
Yeah, they sure certainly seem to. Mike Wilson, our guest, Knoxville News Sentinel, talking Vols here on the second day of January 2023.
Well, Mike, I don't know if this is true or not, but a buddy of mine told me this, so correct me if I'm wrong. UT has beat 6 of the last 7 national champions this season. If that's true, like what does that mean to you when you hear that? I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool, but they weren't in the national championship though.
Well, they definitely beat 3 of the recent ones, right? Because Georgia, Alabama, LSU, Clemson, 3 of those. So yeah, it's the 3 of the last 4 right there off the jump.
Okay, gotcha.
So potentially 6 or 7 as well, because Bama wins all the time. I mean, it's good. It's good for Tennessee to show momentum in that direction. To say that not only are they consistently outperforming the Missouris and Kentuckys of the SEC, but they're beating the Floridas. They beat Alabama. They beat LSU. Like they're not beating just the bottom half of the SEC. They're going out there and beating the top tier. And that's what you have to do if you ever want to be in the conversation for playing in Atlanta in the SEC title game and reaching, the 4-team playoff certainly, but you're going to have to win games like that to reach that 12-team playoff as well. And Tennessee has a tough schedule year in and year out because of those cross matchups with Bama, and you've got Georgia, you've got Florida, you've got those teams every year. But they've now shown they can go out there and beat those teams. And that's exactly what you have to be able to do, but it's not what Tennessee has done in a long time.
No doubt about it. We're on with Mike Wilson with the Knoxville News Sentinel. I have to ask you, what was your favorite or favorites, moments all season during the Vols season this year? There's some memorable moments, I would say.
It was my attempt to survive on the field after the Alabama game.
That's when you wound up at the fraternity house, right?
And everything else moving around to the stadium, to the river and everything.
Yes. Yeah, but it was more so that me, not a smart person, was in front of the student section at the end of that game for the field goal. And that situation happens fast with people coming on the field. And what was so crazy, I kind of moved toward the field, but I didn't want to end up in the middle. That just seemed like a nightmare scenario. So I kind of moved out, but at the same time, you got Alabama players running across at you. Tennessee players are kind of running in random patterns. And behind you is just coming this onslaught of students. And it is a moment that I never want to be a part of again. I'm going to hide in a different corner if that ever happens again. But yeah, I mean, that entire night, I remember staying in the press box elevator before the game to one of the elevator attendants. Like, she was asking what I thought about the game. And I said, the crazy thing is no matter what happens in this game, it's going to be chaos. Like, win or lose, this seems to end in chaos. And it was beyond what I could have imagined. But that entire night, following the field goal post, the field rush, that's one of those games I'll talk about for the rest of my career, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, man. Well, expectations going into next year, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee has to feel like they should be in the mix as a top 10, top 15 team, right? Just with guys returning. I think Joe Milton's performance against Clemson cements them in that conversation, just because you need to know who that quarterback's going to be in Heupel's offense to feel good about what Tennessee can be. And now I think you do know that. At least you know who the guys should be going into next season. So there's going to be skill players that rise up. There's surely going to be some portal guys, especially, I'd say, at wide receiver. Tennessee will go out and grab a couple game changers there. But, yeah, I think Tennessee feels good about where they're at, but you've got to be talking about that team again as competing for an SEC East championship. And that goes through Georgia. It's going to continue to go through Georgia. But Tennessee beat Florida, which is going to be in that mix. South Carolina's on the rise too. But, yeah, I think Tennessee has to feel that they can compete for that division title next season, just like they felt this year.
The nutty thing is, if you're a Vols fan, you're always trying to get in the championship mix. 12 teams. I mean, you're in the top 10. You're basically guaranteed. Think about this. He has them poised to be a perennial top 10 team. A perennial top 10 team, Mike, means you're in the playoff every year now.
Which is wild to think about, just because, again, we talked about the Jeremy Pruitt stuff earlier. That's little more than 2 years ago this time. That was, mid to late January. And now we're sitting here talking about Tennessee entering the season as a top 10 team. You're talking about them having an 11-win season, beating Clemson, beating Alabama. It's almost hard to wrap your head around at points when you think about how recently all of that was. But yeah, that again, it really does speak to what Josh Heupel has built and been able to do so far.
Well, I know football season's over. I know you're excited to be covering basketball. People need to jump on the follow Twitter train for you at by Mike Wilson or anywhere they can send the Knoxville News Sentinel because attention turns to Rick Barnes and the crew now after a fantastic football season. Mike, Happy New Year to you. Thanks for the time, and thanks for always answering the phone when we call.
I don't answer it for everyone, but I will always answer for you guys.
Thank you, sir. Glad you made it through that
Appreciate that,
Alabama
bro.
melee unscathed, and we still have you with us. Thank you, Mike.
Yes, you guys. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. The one and
Take
only
care.
Mike Wilson. When we come back, Mike Vrabel, news conference earlier today. The biggest thing he said, of course, he's going to go with Josh Dobbs as starter. He said something else I thought was really interesting that I want to ask Blaine about, like really, really interesting. And then I've got a number to back up the interestingness of it. I'll explain it all next.
Oh, interesting.
On the next
Scoreboard Bar and Grill, that's where we are. Zone's going to be here all day until 6 o'clock. You can swing by. You can eat just anything. Anything you get here is great.
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah. And make sure you, get here because Kirby likes eating everything. Yeah, it's all good. He said hot, cold, everything in between. He loves it all. This is his neck of the woods.
Kirby is here. You can see Kirby. Joe Hunk is here. CJ. Lucas is still here eating. He's eating the food that Ron Slay wouldn't eat because it was too hot. Ron seems very happy now with his current order.
Yeah.
If your food is too hot, they have the coldest beer in Nashville. It's just convenient like that. You can try Oil Fire Whiskey while you're here. The slogan, you'll like it and she'll love it, so bring her and see what that's all about. You can also register to win a bunch of great prizes, including a big tailgate package for the Pro Football Championship game, the big bowl, at the end of the year. If you win, you can have your own private viewing party for 20 of your closest family and friends, and they'll all be jealous because you can tell them Scoreboard hooked you up with the best that there is. So Mike Vrabel today hooked us up with some knowledge. He said that Josh Dobbs is going to be the starting quarterback.
that was the knowledge.
That was part of it. Well, he didn't admit it a couple of days ago when he spoke.
You're right.
He just came out and said it today.
You know what? That's another poll question. Will Malik Willis get in this game? Will we see both Dobbs and Malik Willis? I think we will. Maybe not in the quarterback position as far as Willis, but maybe just kind of like how the Texans used Driscoll, and Mills. I don't know. You think you can throw a slant to Willis? I think you can. I think you can throw a hitch pass and he can go run. Why not? Like a great change-up curveball right there. I like it. First time they'll get to see it, too.
All right, we'll put that out at Blaine and Mickey.
Hopefully Vrabel has listened to me because I know he listens to me so much, that he takes me up, on all my advice that I give him.
100% he's listening. He knows what time it is.
Yeah, right.
He did say this. He had a press conference at the end of last week and got asked about David Long, and he had essentially said that, yes, that, and I'll have to find the exact quote, but essentially it made me believe they're going to open up David Long's. He said, hopeful to open the 21-day window of practice for David Long to return, see if he can play versus Jacksonville. Well, today got asked, and he said he wasn't sure, not sure. They have 22 people on IR right now, 22. Now, some aren't coming back, like a Taylor Lewan or Harold Landry. Some can't come back because they haven't missed 3 games. But I'm just really interested. If he doesn't come back, you could bring somebody back if they're okay to come back. They only got 1 more game. But I'm just real curious what they're going to do if David Long, for some reason, they just can't get him ready to go. Because they could bring somebody back.
Well, I'm okay with – I know Long is the better linebacker. You always want your best players, but he may not be at his best coming back off an injury. And I thought Gibby and Monty Rice and all the guys who have been actually playing the last 2 or 3 weeks have done a fairly decent job. When I say that, I don't think they're going to lose games for you. But you always want your best players. So, when you say stuff like that, even like with Fulton and Hooker, you're not sure those guys are going to be ready. You're hoping. But you always want to get a week of practice with them, which is really in this, position that they are with the extra time, 2 or 3 days and see how they respond to practicing and see if they feel up to the game intensity. Because that's one thing you can't duplicate in practice is the intensity level that goes with a game and how hard you're going to be playing and how fast you're actually going to be running. So especially when you're talking about groins and calves and hamstrings. So those things you just never know. And I would be counting on the guys that are practicing. For me as a coach, I'm going to go with the guys who are practicing day in and day out, and they fared fairly well. I thought Dr. Gibby and Monty Rice played really well. Now, did they make some young people mistakes? Yeah, of course. But that's okay. I can live with that. They're going balls to the walls, and they're playing hard. And I think they'll continue to grow and learn. And then actually we're going to look at maybe – This may be our starting lineup or maybe our backups. It doesn't matter. These guys can actually play in some pivotal moments and critical moments against some good teams that, determining games if we go to the playoffs. So as much as I, hope Long and Hooker and Fulton are out there on the defensive side, I think we're pretty sure Autry and Big Jeff are coming back. But I think we're fine. So the desperation and here's how the coaches think. I'm not thinking about how many is on the IR or how many I can bring back. I'm thinking about working with the guys I got.
Yep.
And then the guys who are practicing, we'll see where they are at compared to the other guys. And if I feel comfortable that they can play at the level we need them to, then I'll dress him and start him, or maybe he's in a backup role or part-time playing role, whatever role you think they can help your team.
Gibby and Monty Rice had 23 tackles in
Yeah,
that game.
they look good, man. That was one of my – oh, that's right. You weren't here Friday. You need a day off there by the mixer. But, yeah, I talked about how I really like the way Gibby and Monty Rice. I thought Monty Rice had a couple key reads, misses, but it was being overly aggressive, not necessarily anything other than that. Those you can fix. Can't fix aggressiveness, and Dr. Gibby was acting like a veteran out there. To me, he was up there shouting out instructions, changing plays, and everything else. I love that because I like playing with smart football players and that can think real quick thinkers like that. So, sometimes when you're even a doctor like Gibby, that doesn't mean just because you're smart in the classroom doesn't mean you can be a quick thinker on the football field. So some people get it confused, thinking just because you're smart in the classroom doesn't mean you're going to be smart on the football field, and that's not true. And he kind of overlaps on both of those, so it's pretty cool to see.
Gibby and Monty, whoever's riding, they ride into Jacksonville Saturday night. Actually, the game is going to be Saturday night at 7:15. We all found out last night about 10 o'clock. That's when the NFL picked a game time for that particular contest. So,
So we'll see Ron Slade out there party to the tardy at 7:15 at the Bridge building. Well, it'll probably be more like 5 o'clock. What time it'll be? 4 or 5?
what's an away game?
4. He said 4. Oh, no.
I just want him to be out at the Bridge building by
I
himself.
want him to be there because he's still gonna have a party there. Yeah. That's what I'm getting at. See, he's still gonna have a party. Yeah, everybody's gonna go to the Bridge building to see Ron Slade. That's where we're gonna be tailgating, partying at.
Well, you can come.
Are we going to be at Scoreboard? Where are we going to be, Ron?
Let's just come back to Scoreboard. That's where we're going to be for another hour party, and today, and then 3HL will party here.
I set him up.
Until 6 o'clock. And Robin's like, oh, my gosh, I got to set my schedule. I got to go to the Bridge building. No, you're okay,
He's
Ron.
at 4? Oh,
that's an away game.
Not this week.
Come on out. Join us at the Scoreboard Bar and Grill again. We will be here until 3, and then 3HL will be here 3 to 6. We would love to see you. 23. We are hanging out with you for another hour here. And where are we? Sports Bar. The ultimate sports bar, Scoreboard Bar and Grill. Going to be here until 3, and then 3HL will be here until 6 o'clock. Ron Slade told me their whole crew is going to be here. You can swing by. You can say, hey.
He's already here.
He's already here eating chicken.
Yeah, he said he had to get on the sleigh ride right on up in here and get some of that chicken.
He came out here to watch this LSU butt kicking of, Purdue, 35-0 at the half. 3 bowl games on right now. Mississippi State, Illinois coming down to the wire. It's 10-10 with about 4.5 minutes left. USC is beating Tulane 28-14 in the Cotton Bowl, and LSU and Purdue 35-0 at halftime. I heard you talking about this earlier, Lucas. 2 bowls have Cheez-It in the name. Like, how much is Cheez-It spending on bowl games? There's the Cheez-It Bowl, and there's the Citrus Bowl, which is also brought to you by Cheez-It.
What?
Like, how could Sunny D or somebody not sponsor that? It's literally the Citrus Bowl.
So it's 2 Cheez-Its bowls?
2 bowls with Cheez-It in the name. God bless Cheez-Its, man. They want college football on your TV, and they're paying big money for it.
Man, they're going to be stopped up.
Yeah, well, Purdue's offense is stopped up, and their defense is wide open because LSU 35-0 at the half. There's tons of great stuff. You can come by here. We got a table. You can take some free stuff. CJ will get you hooked up with that. You can try oil fire whiskey while you are here if you were so inclined. There's people here. There's like 3 or 4 different stages of Scoreboard. We're in like the back part actually on the stage. Yeah. There's TVs out here and the bar's rocking and rolling. You can win a tailgate package for the big pro football championship game. 20 of you and your closest family and friends can live it up via the Scoreboard, but you got to come out here to register for this. Blaine, the fighting Mississippi State Bulldogs trying to win one for the late, great Pirate today. They're wearing pirate flags on their helmet. I thought that was the coolest touch ever.
Okay. Yeah.
Mississippi State is doing that for
they started
Mike
off with some crazy formation at the beginning of the game, so that was kind of cool, too, in honor of the late Mr. Mike Leach. Yeah, man. Wow. That's
playing
crazy.
at Tampa where they have a pirate ship in the stadium.
Already. Yeah,
just fantastic.
cool.
Man, I hope they win. Sorry if you're a fan of Illinois, but the whole world is Mississippi State fans right now. If you're a Josh Dobbs fan, you got news earlier today from Mike Vrabel. He announced that Dobbs would start. Didn't commit to this a couple of days ago. I know.
That was breaking news, man. Yeah, because he told us before he didn't know who was going to start.
He did say it.
And everybody was like, really?
Really?
Seriously?
Everybody knows who's going to start.
We're never going to take you serious again, Mike. Come over.
If he had said today, I don't know who's going to start.
Oh, my. Yeah. So I think that's why he just said, all right, well, let me just announce it today, get it out the way, and maybe we shall or may not see Malik Willis in the game.
You're talking about in the way of like the Texans have been doing now for several weeks. They just play 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think why not? Have something gimmicky in there, have some fun. Whether you use it or not is one thing, but at the right appropriate time, I think so. But there's another side to this story to me, and everybody's talking about Dobbs, and which is a great story, and him being in the league, 5-6 years, and then finally getting his opportunity to start in the game, and now getting a second chance to actually win, and you're in.
Yep.
So, which is really cool, and he's been patient for his opportunity and deserved it. And he played well enough to be the starter anyway, at least in this system with where they're at with the quarterback situation. But the real question to me is the thought of what does the organization think of Malik Willis? Like, have they saying, oh, he's just not there yet? Or are they just saying, we don't know if we can ever get him there to be a number 2, at least as soon as we want to, which means going into next year, if he can't be solidified as the number 2. And that decision actually is made to me in the offseason. So how do you're not practicing. You may have some, OTAs. So have they given up? And then, by the way, there's going to be a new GM coming in town, and he's going to be like, hey, this is not my guy, and I don't think he's a backup in this league, let alone we don't even want to talk about starting, where you can see in Dobbs and his patience and his accuracy, getting rid of the ball on time, and being here only 8 days, you say, okay, I can see potentially this guy being a number 2 on this team anyway, and he's probably making a claim if he wins a couple games to be on any team as a number 2 and borderline starter. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. But, yeah, so I think it's a little bit of an indictment on Malik Willis. Sorry, I hate to say that for all the guys who are out there and thinking Malik Willis was going to be the future of the Tennessee Titans. I've said, let's slow the roll. Let's see if he can get to being a backup in this league, and he hadn't gotten there yet. And you could see the offense was run, and they hadn't run any of those plays like that from Malik Willis. They hadn't even run enough boots. They ran a boot I'm like, they going to run every boot known to man. I'm like, dang, they didn't do any of these. Why did they do it? Because they didn't believe that he could actually do it and perform at a high level and go through all the reads and progressions as well as get them out of some of the checks and change the plays and everything else. So I really think we may not see Malik Willis again, depending on who the GM is and how they view where they're at. Now, if you're talking about him being on the practice squad next season and still developing, getting you a veteran backup quarterback, depending on what you decide to do with Tannehill, based off of cap numbers, whether it's an extension or you decide to, all right, let's move on to someone else. Yeah, I think that was kind of interesting under the radar, and I think Vrabel was trying to avoid actually that kind of conversation, trying to pep up and pat on the back Malik Willis. At the same time, he's the guy that's pulling the trigger saying, nah, we got to start Dobbs. Because who you think's call was that? Wasn't O.C. Downey.
Right.
It was Mike Vrabel.
Dobbs averaged almost 1.5 yards more per passing attempt than Willis did when he played. That's a huge number in between those two.
Oh, is it?
Yes. That's like
now explain why that is, because a lot of people who sit out there go like, why is 1 yard so big in completions compared to the other, quarterback? Like because when I hear it, I go, oh, okay, yeah, that seems like, okay, that's just not that bad. But doesn't seem huge, but in reality it is.
Well, and you and I were talking about this when we sat down, and we were just talking about, this wasn't on the air, and you said, some people trying to say put Dobbs in ahead of Tannehill if he was healthy, and you were like, hey, man, slow your roll.
Oh, yeah, slow down.
So yards per attempt is just, you take your total yards that you've thrown for and divide it by how many times you've thrown the ball, not completed it, but thrown it. So Tannehill's 7.8 yards per attempt. Mm-hmm. Malik Willis is 4.5 yards per attempt.
No, well, that's huge, 3 yards.
So
right?
then you go, okay. And then Dobbs is 5.9, so just under 6.
In a small sample size.
In a small sample size. So here's what I noticed. You talked about all the boots. But with Dobbs, it looked like they just kind of, like you said, they trusted him to make some progressions. And you heard it a couple times, can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's changed some plays.
He changed some plays. He's been there 8 days. But it's like, okay, this dude could just go and run what we run.
Yeah, run the offense.
Yeah.
And it shows that they had confidence that he could, and there's no confidence really in Malik Willis running the entire offense and just making the quick throws and being on time. And it just looked like a total offense. And I think that's why a lot of people feels relieved that, okay, we feel like now we got a shot because they got to see, Dobbs versus Willis. You got to see it. Right there. I mean, Willis has started 3 games. Granted, he's a younger player. Dobbs has more experience, so he has an advantage there of sitting on the bench 5 years and now going into his 6th season. I mean, and he looked like a calm, cool customer. And this is one thing that I love about Dobbs is his calmness and his thoroughness when he plays, and even his competitive nature. You can see all this in the game when he missed a pass or somebody or he threw a bad pass or it was off a little bit, or if he made a mistake, his competitive nature, he was like, dang it. You can see him, his frustration, but never letting it take control of him. And that is what you want, especially out of a quarterback, let alone your backup quarterback, who's only going to be a spot player throughout time, maybe, or, play 2 or 3 games, and you want him to play, hold the fort. And that's what he looked like out there. So I like what I saw. I wanted him to draft him and bring him into camp when he came out of college, too. So I'm obviously excited that he's getting an opportunity to showcase his skill set. I'm always for guys who are kind of under the radar and kind of held the fort, because I don't know if I would have stayed in there for 6 seasons to think I'm going to keep playing and then bounce around on practice squads knowing that I'm better than some of, not only the guys on the practice squad, but I'm better than some of the guys that are backups in this league.
And again, this isn't a dude who's like, gosh, what am I going to do with my life after this? It's all laid out for him.
He can do whatever he wanted to do, really.
So, the football thing, he obviously loves football. He's a great, you have to be the most unbelievable of competitor to get to this level. Mm-hmm. But this is a dude who could easily go on and make tons of money and send rockets to Mars and all kinds of other things if he wanted to do it. But he's still out there competing and acquitted himself.
He likes throwing rockets.
He sure does.
He has a nice release, tight spiral. One thing that he's kind of changed, we were talking with Lucas, he throws a tight spiral ball and quick release. Man, it's fitting for the league, which changed. He was inconsistent in college with that, and then he's improved in that. So he's worked on his craft. You can really tell. And right now that we're catching him maybe at his best, he still made mistakes. Don't get me wrong. Threw some picks. Probably should have threw a couple other ones. I mean, they dropped. But, he should have thrown it out of bounds a time or two here or there. Maybe even the last throw that he threw the pick, trying to squeeze it in there. But those are things you could say, okay, we can work with this. So I'm interested to see how he comes out and see if he improves, because now the Jaguars have a little understanding of how we're going to use them in this offense. And they can say we're really playing the Titans offense, even if Tannehill was there. That's what they're running. But at the same time, Tannehill, even this season with the hurt ankle, wasn't doing a lot of boosts because of his immobility, because of the ankle injury. So I'm interested to see how they look at it and how even they throw some curveballs in there, the Titans, to, show them something new.
We'll show you something new in the next segment. It's time for Ding Dong of the Week. We do it every Monday on the show. You got a ding dong you want to share with us, 615-737-1045. That will get you in on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline, or just drive out to the Scoreboard Bar and Grill and just yell out your ding dong to us. You can do that. We're going to be here today until 3 o'clock. We'll get into that. We'll take your phone calls. We'll continue to discuss Titans and Jags and just a whole lot that's going on in the football world. But it is time for Ding Dong of the Week next. Zone live from Scoreboard Bar and Grill. Going to be here until 3HL until 6. We're just watching college football and eating food and
At the scoreboard.
people having cold beer, and it's warm outside. It's a really nice day. Why would you spend it here? You're not working. Just come out to the Scoreboard. There's like 4 different bars inside of the Scoreboard. You could just pick one and come in here and hang out. You can come by and tell us what your ding-dong of the week is. You can go to markspain.com, get a guaranteed offer on your home today, and start packing. Or as we like to say, don't be a ding-dong. Use Mark Spain. Congratulations to the Mississippi State Bulldogs / Pirates for today. They got a pirate flag on their helmet. There's 4 seconds left in this Illinois game. They just got the ball right down to the middle of the field in front of the goal line and kicked a 20-something yard field goal to take a 3-point lead. So I'm happy for that kicker for making that kick. And, well, these young men look like they have been through a whole lot, losing their coach and still playing in this game, Blaine. And to go down to Tampa and to find a way, because Illinois is good. Brett Bielema's got a good
great
team.
job.
They're physical. And to go down there and
8-4, yeah.
and to go down there and do what they've done with all those emotions, man, I like Brett Bielema. He's a good dude. I've interviewed him a bunch of times, but I would like to see Mississippi State finish this today. We are all Bulldogs today. So they got 4 seconds. Hopefully a squib kickoff can get this thing done for them.
Yep, field goal made it. But now we get ready for some ding-dongs. And we're watching the actual, where me starting my ding-dong is I'm looking at him run around right now, and Caleb Williams. He's the ding-dong for me. And his ding-dong is he painted on his nails there, Ron Slay, F Utah in the championship game. Why the heck would you do that? That sounds a sign of immaturity. Sorry. Can't do it. Can't do that, man. Not yeah. That's why they lost, didn't they? No. Yeah.
The fighting Dyson's got them.
Yeah. So, yeah. Steve Smith Jr. Yeah, one of the two.
They got that. They got their Rose Bowl tonight, man. They're gonna be out there watching them in the granddaddy of them all. Rose Bowl coming up tonight, or this afternoon, actually, 4:00, the Rose Bowl. So it's an afternoon game, and then Monday Night Football tonight because the football worlds are colliding. Blaine, it's a fantastic day.
Bills, Bengals too.
Ooh, that's gonna be a good one. Let's get to some of these ding-dong calls. Eric in Nashville will lead us off, as he always does. When it's time to bring up a ding-dong, we bring up Eric.
I got another ding-dong, too.
Happy New Year, guys.
What's going on, Eric? Happy New Year.
Hey, guys, and I got a feeling I might be taking somebody's, but my ding-dong has got to go to Jacksonville Jaguars coach Doug Peterson. Apparently he's now upset the fact that they moved his game from Sunday to Saturday night against the Titans because he has a day less to prepare. Cry me a river, man. I mean, you got to get over it. I mean, to me, if you should have not played your players at all, you didn't have to play them yesterday in the game against the Texans. The game didn't mean anything, win or lose, so you didn't have to play them yesterday. And I'm telling you, even if the game kept the game on Sunday, there's a strong possibility the winner of this game was going to have to play with a day less on Saturday because somebody's going to have to. And not only that, I'm trying to get distracted in the background. Also, guys, by the fact, too, is somebody's going to be playing on Monday Night Football in a playoff game, which means they're going to have a day less to prepare. And also, you've got the fact that next year, if you happen to win the division, guess what? You're going to be playing teams like Kansas City, Buffalo, and Cincinnati, which means you're going to be involved maybe in primetime games or games where the schedule's not going to benefit you. So you're my ding-dong. Grow up, put on your big boy pants, and get over it. Guys, y'all take care. I'll see you soon.
Being a ding-dong.
Amen to that.
Yeah, no doubt.
But, come on, man. Good. I'm glad he's distracted. Bring it on. Let him be distracted. That's great. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah, he's focused on that. He's focusing on the wrong thing.
You want to get Mike in Alexandria next to hear about his ding-dong. Mike, by the way, Mike, you took your ding-dong and went home.
My Mike got shot.
By the way, these ding-dongs are fighting at the end of this game. And
no, they were pushing and shoving. I don't know what happened, though.
So
because he got the squib kick? And he ran it back?
Yep. Oh, it's a forward pass. Ron Slay is trying to get this game won by more than 3 points by Illinois.
That's what this is all about.
If you heard the
gambling
ruckus,
money, his gambling money. Yeah.
If you heard the ruckus going on here, that was Ron Slay cheering for the final million laterals by Illinois. The final pass did look like it went forward, unlike, the one that Frank Wycheck threw. Oh, that's backwards. All right, Ron Slay just won a bunch of money out here at Scoreboard. Oh, my gosh. Dinner's on Ron Slay for everybody who's coming out here tonight. Ron is not a ding-dong. He got a miracle cover here by the Dogs. And it's a miracle. It is an absolute Scoreboard Bar and Grill miracle for Ron Slay. They won 19-10 on a scoop and score on the final play of the game.
Long live the Pirates.
Long live the Pirates. Long live the parlay, I think is what he means here. You had another ding-dong. Let's hear your second ding-dong.
Yeah. This ding-dong is for yours truly, Will and Lucas Panzica, for going against Tennessee and Clemson. They predicted Clemson was going to win that game. I cannot believe they went against their alma mater and everything. They thought they was playing like 4 years ago, Clemson. That's what they thought.
Lucas won't even look at it.
It might have been 4 years. Might have been 4 years ago, Tennessee too. He was thinking. So
I got it. I'm giving him my
he had
microphone.
great logic because we love us some Lucas, and he had great analysis, and I can see why most people probably thought the same thing. What was it?
I bought into the premature hype of Cade Klubnik from 3 quarters of the North Carolina
he is going to
game.
be a good player. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. No, he showed his inexperience a little bit, but I bought in.
Yeah.
Milton was good.
Well,
Milton
give us your
was good.
analysis of the game real quick.
I mean, Milton did the things that
He hadn't done.
you wanted him to do that he hadn't shown in a big sample size yet. So he wasn't perfect. He felt like he wasn't as fluid, right? Felt like he's not as natural in the pocket as Hendon Hooker, not as comfortable. But those are the guys he's going to be playing with next year as far as receivers. So that was kind of about as good of a preview as you could have asked for.
What did you think of the defense, though? I was a little surprised. They just beat up Clemson.
It was the best performance of the season by far. Yeah, Aaron Beasley had the game of his life.
Oh, my.
2 sacks. So, yeah, that was their best performance of the season, and a lot of those guys come back. So it was as good of a finish as you could ask, but it'll be interesting to see what the expectation is going to be for 2023.
Yes, that's what I was going to ask you before we let you go. Do you think they can top this season going into next season with maybe Milton, who's not as good as Hooker, but potentially could be, and even better if he continues to grow at the position as far as his accuracy and going through the offense? But do you think they have a possibility?
That's what it would take, would be Milton just absolutely takes off. I mean, that's the only scenario I feel like where Tennessee repeats what we saw this year in any way. So I don't know if that's something you're ready to buy into quite yet. You would just have to see it. But I think that's the only thing it would take. Otherwise, your eyes are kind of looking forward.
Lastly, you're the voice for Tennessee fan base, Lucas Panzica. What will it take for Milton, I guess, let's say, bad game, bad throw before they start chanting Nico?
That's a good question.
How
I was
soon
wondering
will
that
it
on
start?
Friday. I don't know.
How soon will it start?
I think it would take, I think for a section, it would probably start pretty soon. But those people are always going to be there. He's going to be looming all year. I don't think the coaching staff's going to want to put in the true freshman anyway. So ultimately, that's what matters, right? So I don't think that would have any impact. But yeah, I could see the Nico calls coming pretty early.
Or his NIL deal, one of the two, right?
Yeah, well, I guess we'll see.
We shall see. He got that Ron Slay money right there. Cool, man. Appreciate it. Lucas Panzikas.
Lucas, do you agree of a Dabo for my ding-dong of the week? Oh, it was yours?
Oh, what did Dabo do?
The flipping burgers comment, basically like,
Flipping burgers?
they're going to be home
He was
flipping
back there with
burgers
Ron Slay
while
flipping
we're,
burgers?
playing for a championship. And Ron's been eating burgers. Ron needs to go buy some lottery tickets after what just happened in this game. Great moments in gambling history, as Kirby is saying.
What was Dabo's comments on flipping burgers?
Lucas, do you want to elaborate on the Dabo flipping burgers comment? Basically, it was they were going to play in the ACC championship, and he's like, Tennessee's home flipping burgers while this is going on. And Vol fans keep extremely lengthy and detailed receipts.
I think that's what it was, that Tennessee lost to South Carolina and Clemson was preparing to play South Carolina. And he's saying, Tennessee was home flipping burgers thinking, we'll see you in the playoff. And then you forget you got to come out and play. Something along those lines.
That was
then he tried to back it down.
That was
later.
a leg sweep
he
right
walked it
there.
back
That
in
was a
some
leg
kind of way.
sweep right there, man. That was a Joe Hunk leg sweep right there, man.
No, but he's really the ding-dong for putting his son in on the fake field goal early on.
Does he not usually hold? No.
He does usually hold. He does,
okay.
but he called the fake and didn't go well.
Yeah, it did. That kind of set the tone right off the bat.
Well, 9 times out of their first 10 possessions, they made it into Vols territory. They ran 101 plays, 464 yards, and had
one touchdown.
13 points.
Yeah.
I mean, Bend, like you said earlier, bend but don't break. They did it all day. They bent,
but Lucas had someone put some icy hot in the kicker of Clemson's girdle.
I think maybe the greatest
man.
moment in bowl game history, not the fact that the kid missed the field goal, but that the guy kicked the field goal in 2022 and it landed in 2023 Eastern time.
Yep.
That was unbelievable.
Highlight of the weekend for sure.
For Ohio State. Brandon in Nashville wants to join the ding-dong discussion. Let's get Brandon in here next on the Mark Spain Real Estate Hotline. Brandon, thanks for calling. Happy New Year.
Hey, Happy New Year. Thanks for taking my call, man. I'll make this as quick as possible. I'm an Uber driver in Nashville part-time, right? So I pick up these two older ladies. I want to say they was at least 65 or older. Some people wouldn't consider that old. I'm just saying the elderly to me. So when I picked them up on the way to drop them off, I'm hearing their discussion behind me, and one saying, "Girl, I'm fixing to throw up everywhere." And the other girl's like, "No, don't do it, girl. Don't do it. Just roll the windows down." So now it's freezing. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning getting them home. So, I mean, whatever it takes her to keep them throwing up. Well, then the other one says, "Yeah, I got to use the restroom real bad." So they're encouraging each other to hold on. This is the longest 8-minute ride I've ever rode in my life. Because I'm hoping one don't vomit and the other one don't urinate in my seat. So I finally get into the house thinking I'm in the clear until I said, "Well, I'll do one more ride." And then the guy gets out, "Oh, I just want to let you know, man, one of your seats are wet."
Oh.
And I'm like, you could have at least told me you did it. You know, one, be an example with your age on how to conduct yourself. And then two, if you do make a mistake, at least tell somebody so the next person don't have to get in and find out the hard way. So that's my ding dong for the elderly that don't know how to conduct themselves. Y'all have a blessed day.
Boy. Man, that's Happy New Year.
And you could have gave him just when you got out, like, "Hey, I think I had an accident in the back, but
Hey, something bad happened. Right.
Yeah.
I left my Depends at home. Something bad happened. I'm having some issues.
Leave out there, man.
Wow.
Out there hanging.
Oh, man.
Left him out there hanging with his ding dong.
All right, we will shift from ding dongs to Jason in Nashville. I don't know if Jason is going to bring us a ding dong, but it's a question for Blaine. So let's do some hashtag.
Yes,
Ask the
sir.
Hitman.
Hello, Blaine.
Hey.
Hello, guys, by the way.
Hello.
Thanks for calling.
Yes, sir. Okay, Blaine, I want to take you back to your playing days, all right?
Uh-oh.
I'm going to take you back to the Super Bowl.
Uh-oh.
I want to know, when you stepped on that field for the first time, I've always wanted to ask somebody's played. I've always wanted to play in a Super Bowl, and you have, so I want to know from you, when you stepped on that field for the first time, were you terrified? Were you hyper-focused? Were you thinking, I'm going to make the play that's going to change the game? What was going through your head when you stepped on that field with millions of people watching you?
Oh, wow. You know, I never really thought of it that way. But, you know, I said to my teammates at the time, you know, it's just another game. In reality, it wasn't, but you wanted to calm everybody's nerves. And you want to say that, you know, just go have fun and enjoy it. And you've kind of reached the pinnacle of when you're a kid. That's the first thing came to my mind going back to when I was a kid. And I always wanted to say, man, I want to go not only play in the NFL, I want to play in a Super Bowl. So I felt like I was living out that dream, and I wanted to be in the moment and just have fun and enjoy the whole process, really, and have fun. I really wanted to have fun and be honest, regardless of whatever happened in the game. I felt like me getting injured or, you know, us losing, I felt like I still had fun. And then even though we lost, I still wanted to get back there and win it. That hunger to get back there and win it was even more than I ever could have imagined, and we never got back there, and that really hurt that next year, losing to the Ravens, more so than even actually losing to the Super Bowl, losing the Super Bowl. But yeah, it was fun. Everything I enjoyed, everything about it. I wasn't, you know, thinking about the millions of people watching it or anything like that. I guess maybe there's a part of me, it was like, I finally have arrived to accomplish something that I probably never thought I could. And that was playing in a Super Bowl. And then you want more after that. After you get there, you want to win it. So I think, you know, man, that was like a boyhood dream. To think that could ever happen was pretty remarkable.
It's crazy, too, because maybe people from around here just think of blame the Titan, blame the Titan, blame the Titan. But the first Oilers team that you played on was Super Bowl or bust by Bud Adams.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a fantastic football team. And you played on some great teams even before you got here. Had Warren Moon, had all these Hall of Famers on the team.
Yeah, they did it. You know, we had in my rookie year, I was a backup and just a special team dime guy. And, man, we had great players all over the place. And, you know, the late, great Bud Adams said, hey, man, we don't go to the Super Bowl, this team will be dismantled. I'm like, dang, man, does he mean I'm going to get cut? I thought he was talking to me, but he was talking to all the best that we had, which, you know, defense, we had William Fuller, Sean Jones, Glenn Montgomery to Ray Childress, Al Smith, Chris Dishman. So I came into a really heavy veteran-type team. Darrell Lewis, Marcus Robinson at that time was the best safety in the world, by the way, being an all-pro, interceptions every game, making plays all over the place, and then hence, you know, towards ACL, and then the next year the patella tendon. Yeah, and then on offense, it was, you know, everybody knows running, shooting, Warren Moon, and, you know, the great receivers, Hayward Jeffers, Ernest Givens. So I caught the whole tail end of that and got
even the O-line for that team was
and actually Munchak and Bruce Matthews. Well, that was Munchak's last year.
Yep.
Which was, I think, 9 or 10. And then Bruce was, you know, the head of the honcho. He was a phenomenal athlete playing offensive line. And then, you know, we had Brad Hopkins naturally, who went first round the year we came out together. They had the David Williams with the baby incident with him missing the game for the birth of his child, which is kind of hilarious at the time, even then. So, yeah, we had a slew we had some great players. It's unfortunate. And, you know, what's so funny, we always measured ourselves to the Cowboys, which was, you know, in the NFC, and we played them in the regular season that year. We played them in preseason. We just dominated them. They hence win 3 Super Bowls in that, you know, in that era. So we thought, and we knew if we go into Super Bowl, we're going to win. And so you just never know. Everything is timing, luck. There's a lot that goes into it. But, yeah, that might have been – there's an argument. It's going to sound weird. The 93 Oilers team or the 2000 team that lost to the Ravens are my 2 best teams I were on. Just talent-wise, how we played, our confidence level. We knew we were dominant. We knew we were great. And we didn't win a Super Bowl. And then neither one of those teams made it to a Super Bowl. That's why it's all about the teams that get hot at the end going into the playoffs are the ones that get in. That's why I'm a big stickler on sitting guys out and talking about missing a whole bunch of games, because I saw this live and in person. I'm giving you an experience about what I saw about those players, and they came back and they just weren't as sharp as they were before. And then nothing against them. They still were the better player, but they weren't sharp and on top of their game at the time. So I saw all this happen. And even in my case, in my rookie year, I got to play, and they tried to play Bubba McDowell ahead of me, who was injured, and he just wasn't as sharp. And so they had to just take him out and just ride with the guy that, myself and other guys that got us there.
We come back, I got 2 numbers I'm going to share with you, 86 and 13. Why are those numbers important? 86 and 13. It's not a parlay for Ron Slay, but I will tell you the importance of those.
What about
also,
23?
Well, we got 23 on the show every day. We can talk to him.
Oh,
also,
no, I wasn't talking about me. I was talking about 2023. See, I knew y'all were going to do that.
Also, Jackson tells me he has tickets to give away next. And when Jackson says we're giving away tickets, that means we are giving away tickets. When we come back, we'll hit you with those magic numbers. And if I'm not mistaken, Jackson, Preds tickets, is that right?
Yeah.
Preds tickets to give away. So stick and stay. Your chance to win next.
When major Titans
midnight train to out of here. 3HL is going to take over.
Yeah, not out of Georgia, but the 3HL. We just got the mayor in the sleigh ride today. Oh, Babsy's gonna be here too. Okay. Yeah, she's coming in hot.
Says Kirby.
Yeah, she's gonna be coming in hot.
All right, 86 and 13. Two numbers for you.
Oh yeah, these numbers you was talking about. 86.
So per Jimmy Wyatt, who tracks this kind of thing, Josh Dobbs, Jaden Peavy, Xavier Newman, and Zach Johnson. I'm sure you are saying, other than Josh Dobbs, who are these people? Those are people who played for the Titans in the game.
Yeah, Peavy. I'm going to guess. See if I can get O lineman. I'm guessing. Peavy, I think.
I believe that's right.
What was the other name?
Xavier Newman.
O lineman.
Uh-huh. Zach Johnson.
Zach Johnson. Uh-oh. You may. I'm going to just stick with. Oh, no, Peavy may be a D lineman. Whoever was 72, I was watching when we were watching the game. I'm like, man, who is 72? I was watching the game. And he was out there. So I think Peavy was D lineman. I'm gonna go O lineman for the last one you just said. So I'm going 3 O linemen, 1 D lineman.
All right, I know Xavier Newman's a lineman. I got nothing for that. Right off the cuff.
Ain't that horrible?
Yes.
That's how bad the injury situation is.
Do you know why? Because they're the 83rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th players to play for this team who played 91 people last year. They're up to 86 again. Because last year you were like, well, this will never happen again. Yeah. It's almost happened again.
Well, to me, this year is a little bit different to me. And that's like, like looking at the box score of, 86, 91. They've had more major injuries to key players this season than last season. And that's the difference in, the play, the record, the losses. You could lose a star player or a really good player here or there and replace them for a game or two, but they've had it multiple times over. I mean, just think how many times that Bud Dupree's been out on, Autry, and now Fulton. Hooker's been in and out. We don't even talk about the offensive line. So in that situation, we all know that. And even the receiver situation has kind of been helter-skelter with Burks, who's an impactful player. And early on, Kyle Phillips, for what we saw from him early. So, yeah. So it's been an interesting year, but I think that's the difference. More key players missing this season than last season.
PVD line, O-line, Zach Johnson, and Xavier Newman, both offensive linemen. So there you go.
What did you say PV was?
D-line.
D-line.
Yeah, you're right.
Because I messed up at first. Yeah. I saw him, I'm like, dang, man, he looks solid. I like what I saw out of those guys. And you know what? I know there's no consolation prize. They lost, but, man, they play really hard, and those guys have a lot to prove, and they want to be on some rosters, whether it's here or somewhere else. So they showed out, man. I thought even the O-line played solid. I mean, considering what they were up against. I mean, the Cowboys' defensive line, as far as pass rush, they up there with the best of them. So
they got the best guy.
Yeah, they got the best guy in Parsons. So, and Lawrence did really well out there too. So, yeah, I think you're finding some depth pieces moving forward, or if not here, they'll be somewhere else.
The number 13, that's the number of teams that have been eliminated from the playoffs. The Titans are not one of those teams, again, despite playing 86 players this season. Mm-hmm. Vrabel has held it together again. Now, I know they're limping down the stretch. I know but if they win the game Saturday night, they will have made the playoffs.
All is forgiven of Vrabel. like it was his fault, right? Like it was his fault. Yeah. So, yeah. So if you win, you're in. So the playoffs start this weekend. That's it. This is a playoff game. You can call it a last regular season game if you want to. It's a playoff game. It's going to be an interesting matchup. So I'm excited in the build-up for it all, and it's in Jacksonville. So, will the pressure get to Jacksonville, or will they be the young and, it doesn't matter to us and we're just going to play loose? Or does the pressure as the game builds and in the game you start pressing and making plays? Try to make plays, and then it doesn't happen and you make mistakes. Or will the Titans be on that side of that because they lost to them last time and they won it so bad, and they're getting better, and now they believe that they have a quarterback that they can win with. So does Dobbs continue to be the calming force and play even better than he played this last game? And better means only you get the W. Get that dub. Got to get the dub.
No turnovers. They turned it over 4 times the last time they saw him. They got to hold on to the ball. We got to pass the ball to 3HL. It's time for them to pick it up here again. Scoreboard Bar and Grill.
Babs.
Babs is here. They're going to be here until 6 o'clock. You can swing by. You can eat. You can drink the cold beer. You can try Oil Fire Whiskey. That's in the copy. They want you to try that, so try it. Register to win some great prizes, including a big tailgate package to the big Pro Football Championship game. You know the one that I'm talking about, the Big S Bowl. 20 of you and your closest friends can party it out with food from here, but we got to get.
All right. So in the meantime,
in between time,
peace. Don't buy none of Kirby's Pepsi either.